This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Red hot comic book movie news, shooting up your butthole. The Weekly Planet, the Weekly Planet.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Weekly Planet, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows. My name is James, also known as Mr. Sunday, and with me, as always, is my co-host Nick Mason.
We're here, folks. We made it. We all made it. We watched Spider-Man No Way Home
without
getting spoiled.
That's right.
We did it.
We did it. And hopefully you did too. We're not going to spoil it until the spoiler section of the show.
That's true.
And then we're going to not spoil it after it, hopefully. That is the plan.
Fingers crossed.
There will be time codes below if you do want to miss any of that. But before we get there, Mason, you better believe there's things to say up top.
Uh-oh.
We've got a commentary for Die Hard. We did it for our Christmas commentary.
A lot of fun, that one.
That's right. That's up right now.
Which isn't to say, James, we don't have fun with all our commentaries.
No, but this one was the best one.
This was
we
the best
actually
one.
deleted all the other ones. It's just
so
this
you
one
gotta,
now.
if you don't like discussions about how Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and like pointing at guns and going, I reckon it's an Australian
What kind of gun is that, do you reckon?
What kind of gun do you reckon? What about this guy?
What do you think about Bruce Willis's hair in this one?
Oh, there's a lot of Bruce Willis talk, unsurprisingly for a Die Hard commentary.
Not as much as you'd think, though.
That's
I
true,
think,
yeah.
Anyways, that's a bigsandwich.co. I might actually put that one up on YouTube for free in like a week or so, maybe, because we did that for Jingle All the Way last week.
True, we did, yeah.
I don't know whether I'll do that yet. I'll see how that goes,
Okay, right.
how much time I get, and if I want to. But leading up to Spider-Man...
Now, folks, you got to be out there and you got to be thinking, will tweeting at James and ask him to put it up on YouTube, will that make him more inclined to put it up on YouTube or less inclined to put it up on YouTube?
You got to make that decision.
This guy's a wild
Because I can
card,
get like the wrong tweet at the wrong time of day.
That's right,
and it locks in my opinion.
You're doing a lot of stuff today. You better. I came here and there was absolute mayhem. There was a dog in a cage. There was a kid that I couldn't hear. I couldn't see, but I could hear.
Yeah.
Who I'm assuming was also in a cage.
That's right. Exactly. That's it. Just mostly cages. Mostly cleaning cages. It's my day. Yeah.
I'm just saying, just to be clear.
Yeah.
The dog was in a cage because it's a puppy.
Yes, and that's where she sleeps, and she woke up when Mason came around. Yeah.
There's not. You don't have dogs in cages.
No. It's just like
dog fighting.
It's like a pen. Yeah. Anyway.
Not for dog fighting.
No, it's not
because
for dog.
if you leave a puppy alone, it's like leaving a baby alone late at night.
They feel they feel safe and contained when they're sleeping,
and they don't fall down the
Yeah,
stairs.
and look, we will be entering her in dog fighting arenas.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's a 2022 discussion.
Okay, cool.
Mason. Time codes below.
I have a little stone wheel and I'm building little claws for it.
Oh,
Just a little shredder claws for later.
So we're going to talk about that Thor poster that we discussed last week.
Yeah.
A kick-ass reboot. Thorpster. Kick-ass reboot. Blue Beetle news. The first reactions to Matrix. Resurrections. Something about Marvel and what they're doing for something. I don't know.
Look, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, I guess.
Oh, it's the reshoots for Doctor Strange. That's what that one is. And then we're going to go into Spider-Man No Way Home. And then, of course, the plan is to sneak in a bit of Snake Eyes afterwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming. But
so if you haven't watched Snake Eyes up until this point, first of all, what are you doing?
Big spoilers, obviously.
We've been banging on about this for weeks. This is going to be the big, as we've always said, this is going to be the big Snake Eyes episode. So pause the podcast now.
Yep.
Maybe watch Snake Eyes.
Yep.
And then you'll be ready for us to...
If you can squeeze in the other
G.I.
G.I. Joe movies, that's fine. They're not really related, but there's definite crossover, isn't there?
Snake Eyes, for example.
Snake Eyes is one of the things that makes the transition. Anyway, all of those are linked below. You can jump wherever you want to go. Now let's talk about that poster.
Was that a little rhyme for Christmas?
It didn't mean to be, but yes. That Thor poster we talked about last week.
Mm-hmm. That big-time fake poster
it was
that Taika
real.
Waititi said was fake.
He lies all the time.
Okay.
I was saying
He's
this before the
famous
show.
for it.
Like, he was like, I'd never do a Star Wars movie. That sounds like absolute hell. Then a month later, he's like, yeah, I'm doing a
I mean, that
Star
maybe is
Wars
not
movie.
necessarily a lie. It might just be like they just drove a dump truck full of money to his house, and he's like, I've actually changed my mind now.
Yeah. No, you might be right.
But also this, and I said this to you off air, you said this Thor poster is real, and I said, but Taika Waititi made fun of it for being bad, and it is bad. And then you said, maybe it's bad on purpose?
I think it's bad on purpose.
Okay.
So this is via the direct, and it's an officially licensed product from Marvel. The poster was mistakenly distributed to a retailer too early and will be available for purchase in 2022.
Ah,
There you go.
a mere month away.
Mere month away.
Very exciting.
We can put it up next to our calendar. Our No
true.
Time to Die 2021 calendar.
Now, when you say it's bad on purpose...
I mean, like, it's like schlocky and like 80s
Okay,
and like
right.
as we mentioned, like spray painted side of a van kind of.
Yeah.
Because there's too many versions of each character on the poster as well.
Yeah.
It seems like a mistake.
You're right. It does seem like a spray paint on the side of a van thing. They should do, you know how like, I think it's maybe Nigeria, like Nigerian cinemas.
Yeah.
Somebody will make a poster and it's just sort of very vaguely related.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
should hire one of those guys, I think.
I agree.
And just do Thor.
Just do that.
Just do all the Marvel movies.
Why not? Why not? We're going to talk about more MCU stuff, but first let's talk about a kick-ass reboot
Okay.
of the franchise. It sounds like I'm being like, get ready for a kick-ass reboot. Here's the property. No, it's
And then we're going to have a kick-ass summer, everybody.
exactly. Surf is up, dudes. So Matthew Vaughn, who directed the original
The
Kick-Ass.
surf's up at Camp Crystal Lake? I don't believe it.
Yeah, you get a speedboat and you kind of whip up some little waves. You know what
that's
I mean?
cool. Yeah.
Before you get murdered. Matthew Vaughn was talking to Collider. He's directing the new Kingsman movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which I have an opportunity to see this week, and I just don't think I will.
Huh.
I don't not want to see it, but I don't want to go to Jam Factory to see it or wherever it is. Like drive like into the city and through traffic and sit in the cinema.
Okay.
I don't want to do that,
Sounds like you've lost the love for movies and all the really annoying things that go with going to the movies.
Wow. You know what? You might be right. You might actually be right. Who would have thought that this romance could ever come to an end? Anyway, he said, we've got a big reboot of Kick-Ass in 2 years. Big reboot. It's so fucking nuts that I can't talk about it.
All right, language, Matthew Vaughn.
It says
director of X-Men First Class.
I know. They've actually muted it here in the, but I
Oh.
feel like I wanted to keep it real. But we've got that ready to go. All the rights revert back in 2 years, and then we're going to do a reboot where people are going to be like, it's insane. So my understanding is, I guess Fox and Disney own it at the moment.
Okay.
I think, and if they don't make something,
Goes back to
Millarworld,
who has an exclusive deal with
Netflix. Yes.
So it's going to this is a series.
I mean, I don't know whether it would be released on Netflix, but maybe.
Interesting. Okay.
He says it'll cause so much, just as much controversy, and everyone will talk about it, and as many people that love it will hate it, and then he says, et cetera, et cetera. I put that in. And I'm going to need one very, very brave actor or actress to play the new Kick-Ass because it will scare the shit out of them. Whoa, this sounds real and cool. I like the first Kick-Ass from memory. I remember liking the second one, but it's probably not as good, is it? I know
I don't remember enjoying the second one, but who's going to be the new, I guess, so now the new Kick-Ass, it's open to everybody?
Well, the new Kick in the comics, he retires.
And there's
a new Kick-Ass she's like a war vet.
Oh,
and she's like basically shutting down drug empires.
Okay, so this could be set. This could be both a reboot and also set after
Absolutely,
the previous
it could.
Kick-Asses.
Yeah.
And that, I think, would probably make a lot more sense.
Yeah, because you could like loosely tie it.
Yeah,
without,
because otherwise it's just the same thing of a guy decides he wants to be
we don't need
vigilante and he buys the suit off the internet and he goes out and he gets hit by a car or whatever and then it's the
Yeah.
same kind of thing. It's just a matter of degrees of like, how's that suit going to look? Is it
Yeah.
going to look more homemade or less homemade?
Great question.
But if you said it afterwards. And then I was going to say who
Kick-Ass more homemade, they could call it.
is who's a new like little Disney girl who could be the new
Well, they
hit
don't
girl?
need in the comic. I mean, the Kick-Ass comics, the Hit Girl comics continue, and she goes on her own adventures.
Grows up like a normal human being.
Yes,
would.
no, she murders. And I think she's still a kid at the moment.
All right, okay.
And then, like a few people did a run. I think Jeff Lemire did one. I think Kevin Smith did one. There's
Okay,
a
I
bunch
should
of
get
them.
back into those.
And then Kick-Ass, this woman becomes Kick-Ass, and then there is a cross.
In the Kevin Smith reboot, is Kick-Ass renamed Snooch Booch?
Yes, that's right,
He's
yeah.
Snooch Booch. Okay, great.
And then they cross over. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that, to be honest. But, yeah, why not? Let's have a go. I think it kind of has to, like, I get what he's saying with everyone's going to be talking about it and there's going to be controversy because if you just did that movie now, it's like, it's been 10 years since
That's true,
these
yeah.
kind of movies, 10 years plus. So we don't, you kind of have to do more than Kick-Ass again.
A sweary little kid.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the jetpack because it's closer to the comics or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or he has two jetpacks because it's further away from the comics.
Pointing opposite directions.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Just a constant hover. Just a constant hop, shudder and hover.
In other news, Blue Beetle. There's a Blue Beetle movie in the works.
I think it's going to go straight to HBO Max. That's what I've heard, and nothing's going to change what I've heard, James.
This just in.
Okay,
This is
go
hot. That was my piece of news.
Oh, yes.
But I've just got it here. It's just popped up in my feed that it's not going to be streaming to HBO Max anymore.
Whoa.
And it's going to go to cinemas, and it's going to be August 18th, 2023.
I've heard of cinemas.
Good, I think, because HBO Max got absolutely smacked this year. They got their bottom smacked, Mason.
No, by directors
Yeah.
and
add box office numbers, add HBO Max numbers.
The true fans.
The true fans were not loving it. So what do you think of that?
I love it. I'm excited to see Blue Beetle.
I'm wondering if Batgirl is going to be the same because I think there's a couple of them happening. I can't remember how many. Yeah, and I wonder if they're going to switch them all. They should.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Hopefully we're post-pandemic by then.
Hopefully.
Maybe we'll get a new one. Just see what's up.
Yeah.
There we go. Anyways, let's talk about The Matrix. The Matrix Resurrections.
Oh, yes.
Did you see it got some reviews this week? People have gone to see it. There's been a lot of hype. People are like, this is actually genuinely good. It's like an homage, but it takes it forward in a different way. There's some people that are just like, I didn't really like it.
Okay.
But I would say at this point, mostly positive and some mixed, which is not terrible, but again, early screenings and whatever. So who knows?
Right.
But I'm jazzed, Mason.
Has anybody said, like, it's a mere shadow of its former self or
I
something
think
like
nobody was like, this is better than the first one. Like everybody was like, it's
right.
it's at least better than the sequel.
Look, I think it might be, and again, we haven't seen it yet, but I think, it might, I feel like it might be, sort of, and I think I've said this about Ghostbusters, like it feels like it's maybe like an X-Men 1 and then Logan kind of situation where it's like, it's a good capper to the series. It's a good,
absolutely.
Even if you maybe miss the intervening ones, you go, okay, well the first one was incredible for its time, and then this new one's like, that's a good finale.
Okay, cool.
Maybe.
All right.
Yeah.
What's that? What else is going on here? Let's have a look, Mason.
Did you know that Tom Holland is maybe going to be Fred Astaire and a Fred Astaire?
Yeah, he's Fred Astaireing it, isn't he?
He's Fred Astaireing it.
We get to,
This was from several weeks ago, but I just remembered it.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That he would be that guy.
That's true. And a lot of people are like, he's too handsome for Fred Astaire. You slick the hair back.
It's fine.
You give him a little extra nose.
An extra nose, like a nose he can carry with him.
Yeah, exactly. Like Fred Astaire famously
Like
had.
like a big paper mache nose he gets as he holds in front of him and dances.
Fred Astaire famously had the nose of one of the heads of MGM Studios.
Is that true?
Yeah, and then he was like, I got your nose.
Yeah.
So you got to give me all these roles.
My understanding is as well, because he got too famous and too rich, he bought the Sphinx's nose. And that's when his career began to decline. He just went full Nicolas Cage.
That's correct, yes.
Just spinning out of control, buying anything. Did you see that trailer for that Nicolas Cage movie? Where
he's himself,
He's himself and whatever.
Yeah,
Looks good. Looks good.
And who's the other guy in it? It's Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal,
It's fine.
yeah.
Is there some other trailers? I don't know if you've got them on there.
Let's have a look.
I was also going to say, just FYI, Tom Holland.
Thomas Holland.
Thomas Holland. Everybody knows him from he did Rihanna's Umbrella on the dance off. I don't think he's as good as Fred Astaire was. But
Well, he's not like
that's not his whole thing.
It's not his whole thing, exactly. Yeah.
But I think he's like he's. I wouldn't normally be like, cast Tom Holland as everything.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I think he's got what it takes to be that guy.
I completely agree.
That being said,
he was Billy Elliot as well.
That's true.
So he's done other things.
But also, as I understand it, Fred Astaire didn't want a biopic made of him after he died.
It's too late.
Too late though. He's dead.
Where are you, Fred
Should have
Astaire?
factored that in. He should have stayed alive for a few more years.
Idiot.
Yeah. I was going to say other trailer.
When did Fred Astaire die?
Speaking of that dance show,
Died in 1987.
did you see the trailer for that thing with Channing Tatum? And
I did,
Sandra
Bullock and
Brad
Brad
Pitt's
Pitt
in it.
briefly. Yeah,
It looks a lot of.
it looks
lot of fun.
like Romancing the Stone kind of,
Yeah.
that kind of vibe.
Sandra Bullock is a romance novelist.
Yep.
And she gets kidnapped and then
by Daniel Radcliffe.
and then Channing Tatum, who is a like Fabio-esque model, has to go in and
Yeah.
rescue. I mean, he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
He probably shouldn't, but he goes in and they.
It looks fun.
Looks fun, yeah.
Yeah, looks really cool. I hope it's good. But I honestly, and Brad Pitt's like, he's so handsome.
And
whatever.
speaking of trailers, there's one more that I just remembered.
Yeah.
Did you see the one?
Oh my God, trailers ahoy,
Trailers,
everybody.
hey, did you see? It's an A24 film. It's that new Michelle Yeoh film.
I didn't watch the trailer for that. I know
Everything, Everywhere, All the Time. I think it's called.
Yeah.
Looks good. Looks great.
What's that one about?
Matrix-esque. It's a woman who sort of comes to a realization there's like multiple realities with multiple versions of herself in every reality.
It's Jet Li's the one.
I know, and she can tap into the powers of all the people, or all the other hers in other
Did
realities.
she figure that out from watching Jet Li's the one?
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
God, Jet Li's the one.
The movie's 4 hours long because you've got to put in the entire viewing of Jet Li's.
Yeah, no, complete. So even if you watch it beforehand, you still have to watch it again when you watch it. Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about
She's like, I can smash 2 motorcycles together.
This is via the Hollywood Reporter. So you probably heard that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and the Multiverse of Madness in the Multiverse of Madness They did some reshoots. It's doing some current reshoots.
Okay.
And we're all like, what kind of news is this? Good, bad? Reshoots can, like most Marvel movies have them anyway.
Yeah, they're built in apparently.
Built in, yeah. But Marvel Studios are apparently jazzed by the many actors crossing paths with each other in No Way Home and the playfulness of having alternate versions of characters appear on screen in Loki. And so they want to have more fun with the multiverse and more cameos and character introductions.
Okay.
I think we're going to get Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Fantastic Four and all that. I think they're going to do everything.
Didn't we see some photos or something of Hugh Jackman getting huge again?
Oh yeah, he is getting huge at the moment, isn't he? And off the back of that, remember he posted a picture of him with Kevin Feige like maybe 6 months ago, and then was it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. But and everyone was distracted by his
because he did some
song
jazz
and
hands.
dance.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yep.
he's just got a lot going on. Could he play Fred Astaire? See, I don't think he could. I think he's too big and too old now.
And too traditionally handsome, I think.
Wow.
I don't think he'd had a weird nose to him and he'd look too much like Fred Astaire. Too tall as well.
Yeah. Well, I guess also he did have a weird nose in that Magician movie.
That's true.
Where he played Rupert Gruth or whatever his name was.
Sure.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff all around. So, Multiverse of Madness. Well, we'll talk about this a bit later.
You've made a big swing there by saying they're going to throw the Fantastic Four in there.
Yep, I think they're going to do it all. I think that they're going to do like weird, obscure, like TV shows and stuff. I don't know which ones in particular, but I think they're going to do it all. Yeah. Or a lot.
American Gothic. They're going to bring.
They're going to bring in the show
American.
They're going to do Generation X or whatever it was called, Mutant X.
Generation X and Mutant X.
So they're two different shows, but they're both about mutants.
Yep.
Very good. There you go. And maybe we'll get a little DC nod as well. You know.
Oh yeah, you reckon?
I don't know. Probably not. But why not? I would.
What would you do specifically?
With the DC nods.
Yeah. Just put Superman in it?
Superman in it.
And be like, what are you going to do, DC?
Yeah.
You sue us? We'll keep you in court for 50 years.
We hired Henry Cavill because you didn't want him.
Yep.
So we just put him in it. We're putting him in it. Come and get him if you want him. We've got him.
He's the Witcher too. Built a costume where he's Superman on the front and Witcher on the back.
So there you bloody go, mate. You also might have seen that Scarlett Johansson is she's producing a Marvel property.
Oh, I didn't see that.
We don't really know what that is at this point, but I guess that's good news for Disney and all of those particular things. And you probably saw that this might be a minor spoiler for Black Panther.
Okay.
So there's a time code if you want to skip ahead. Michael B. Jordan is going to be playing a mentor in the spirit realm.
Oh, I see.
And then they could probably just bring him back.
Just to life?
Yeah, he just walks through the door and whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, they're probably going to have to...
I've changed my ways on Black Panther now.
They're probably going to have to recast Shuri at some point or drop her. It seems
So Michael B. Jordan, Shuri.
Yeah. Well, yep, absolutely. But just, Henry's a popular actor and whatever.
That's true.
So it makes sense. But also, there was one more thing I did want to say. Chadwick Boseman's brother came out and said Chadwick Boseman would have wanted the role recast because it's not he didn't think it was a role that specifically belongs to him.
Okay.
Which I think is probably a good move down the line. You know what I mean? For a next generation or
okay, sure. Yeah, right. Okay.
Because I think for the next 40 years, if there's always new superheroes, new actors playing superheroes. I think it'll pass a certain point where I think that would be an.
Do you think it would take a continuity reboot, like the entire MCU gets a reboot and we start again, or do you think they'll just keep it going and then be like, I was away for a while, but now I'm back?
They might just do that, or he's from another dimension or something.
Oh yeah,
well, whatever. There's so many things that they can do. It just seems like they're doing dimension stuff now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That seems like that's where it's at. Oh, and before we talk about Spider-Man No Way Home, there was a Harry Potter trailer for a new Harry Potter.
That's right. New Harry Potter. No Harry Potter's here.
I don't know.
But we've mentioned Harry Potter twice now, thrice in this title. Look, so you're going to come see it.
I'm not on board with any of this anymore. And who gives a shit?
Are you on board?
Wrap it up.
Are you on board with the idea that the guy who isn't a wizard, he gets his own wand?
It's not.
Cool.
It's a stick.
Is it a stick or is it a wand?
It's just a stick.
I think he'll do some magic with it later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, don't get me wrong. There's good people in it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But
Mads Mikkelsen, love seeing Mads.
Terrific. And they didn't bleach his hair or whatever.
I appreciate that Mads Mikkelsen can go from and you don't. I guess you don't see it much in American movies or whatever. Yeah. He can just switch from just normal dad to horrible villain. He just it's
like a facial expression.
He just turns his face a different way, and you're like, ooh, that guy's creepy.
It might be a left side, right side thing.
Maybe it is. Yeah,
I don't even think it's acting.
Yeah,
you know.
He's like, I can't act, but one side of my face is very evil. So,
All right, then. Do you know what it's time for, Mason?
Oh, what's it time
It's very
for?
much time to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, I just want
then
to...
it's time to crack open Spider-Man Notes Way Home.
Thank you,
Go
very
on here.
good. Just to clarify, even though we mentioned this up top, we're going to do non-spoilers, then spoilers. The things we are going to spoil are the things in the trailers and like generalities.
Also,
I
in
guess.
the non-spoiler section,
Yes.
we'll mention stuff that's in the
We're
trailers.
doing trailer
We will
stuff.
not mention
So-
anyone who may or may not be in the movie that isn't
Yeah.
in the trailers.
That's right,
But if
exactly.
you're like, I haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home yet, and I skipped all the trailers because
Yeah.
I didn't want to be spoiled.
I
maybe
would say
watch the
also,
movie.
like, if you don't want to know anything, you shouldn't be here at all. You should go somewhere else.
I would argue if you don't want to know anything, this is the perfect podcast.
But
I'd
I-
rather not learn anything. Well, here, welcome.
Yeah, but like I want to elaborate like a little bit in the non-spoilers on that, like the bridge fight with Doc Ock, which is in the trailer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
not to spoil it, but just to talk about it. Do you know what
Look,
I mean?
I've written here, my first note says, so little of this movie can be discussed in the non-spoiler section.
Yes, I've tried my best
Hmm.
to put some talking points so that we could go through. But before we get into that, we need to talk about Box Office, Mason.
Oh, the box office.
The
sure.
box
Yeah,
office.
Yeah. But you were talking about a Star Wars character.
Yeah, Han Solo's mate, Box
Box
Office.
office.
Non.
Is box office cool? I don't think he's cool. I think he's an office, like his name
Yeah,
would suggest.
exactly,
And he's always
yeah.
tripping over like flight cases.
He's
and
probably
stuff.
a droid. Like a.
No, I was
like a trippy- okay.
picturing a little man, a very
Oh, okay.
small little man, and he's got a stick.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
He's a
You
small.
don't see his face. He's got a mask on.
Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah.
Box Office.
But then he flips at the end of the movie. He flips the helmet open, and it's Brad Pitt.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
He's doing it, isn't he? So this is the first non-COVID movie to make over $100 million in a US opening.
Okay.
It's also they had a $200 million budget, by the way. Double that for marketing, roughly, I
Yeah, yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah.
It had
That
one.
seems low.
That's about the standard for something.
Yeah,
like this.
I guess. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're right. It is the standard at this point. But I'm like, aren't there movies like? Haven't we seen some stuff that's like 275? Like,
Yeah, probably.
astounding amounts of money.
Yeah, I think Endgame was probably closer to that.
Over here, here's me being like $200 million, not a lot, but 275.
I guess when you think about it, what they did and who they like, who's in it, and you know what I mean. And it's the
Tom Holland and
Holland's
Zendaya.
third one, and Zendaya's third one as well. So they're getting more money. It makes
true.
sense. They actually had a $121 million Friday opening in the US, which is the second highest Friday opening ever, second only to Endgame.
of Marvel movies
Yeah.
of MCU.
No. Movies.
Of movies.
Yeah.
Not bad. It's very rare these days we get a proper
Mm.
like big debut on the board or something that isn't like, well, it's the best biggest release that it wasn't also released on streaming and also blah blah blah.
Here's a question for you though. Before
Go
we
on,
get
James.
into, I'm gonna spring what the story is on.
Okay, terrific.
About.
I'm ready
gonna
for
do that in
that.
a second. Oh, sorry. It's estimated the weekend could go as high as $250 million in the US, probably
bad.
maybe higher, and it's going to make a $500 million worldwide debut. This is like pre-pandemic numbers.
Movies are back, baby.
I don't know if they are. I think
This movie's back, baby.
and this is what I want to. First, I'll do this then. Fine. What do you think the story was?
Okay, Spider-Man. Last time I saw Spider-Man, he's like, oh no, everybody knows I'm Spider-Man, I'm Peter Parker, but everyone knows Spider-Man's Peter Parker and vice versa. And also, I'm wanted for murder. I didn't do a murder, but everybody thinks I did a
Yep.
murder. I mean, one guy thinks I did a murder.
Yeah.
And he's very loud.
He's very
and
loud.
annoying. So everybody thinks I did a murder. So what can I do? Maybe I can go to my friend Doctor Strange and I can be like, Doctor Strange, do a magic so everybody
Murder
doesn't
everybody.
know who I am and thinks I did a murder. If you're right,
Yeah.
would you mind? And Doctor Strange is like, all right, all right, cool, all right, yeah, I don't care. I'll do a magic. Oh, we've done the magic's come out wrong.
That's true. Yeah.
Bad stuff's gonna happen.
And et cetera and so forth, villains and,
Yeah.
and dimensions and whatever. Do you think, because I think it's the case, but I want to know your opinion. Do you think this helped that they didn't reveal so much of it? Because I think that got people into cinemas.
Oh, you think that
and
people
got
are
people talking more?
You think people are intrigued by what might be happening?
Yes.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But I mean,
I don't think that works for something that's not this. Like if they were
Yeah.
like, who's in the next G.I. Joe movie? No
Yeah.
one cares.
I think, if I may, and I'll get to this later, I think there is some stuff in this where if it wasn't characters we already knew and a cast that we already like,
Yeah.
then people would not be so.
I completely agree.
Let me ask you this, James.
Yes.
Well, actually, earlier in the week, you had seen this movie and I'd not seen this movie.
Yeah.
And I asked you, I said, did you like this movie and do you think it was good? Two separate questions. Because I think that is like a valid at this point. And especially
agree, yeah.
something that is, in a lot of ways trading on nostalgia. You can be like, I really like, we talked about Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah.
It's like, did you love this? Did you have a fun time? Was it good though?
Yeah.
In a sentence, did you like this movie?
Okay, I really liked it, but with the caveat that I don't think that that's necessarily a correct opinion about this as a movie. Because I think without knowledge of previous movies, without liking these characters in this universe, does any of it make sense? Do you care? But I also think there's some pretty decent emotional moments in this, and there's some funny moments which I didn't get from Ghostbusters, which also might be because I don't care about Ghostbusters. So I think it is better than, I don't think it's bad without the stuff that I really enjoyed, but I don't think it's great. I think that adding the stuff which we can't talk about, adding the stuff that, that elevates it to me in a lot of ways only works because I like those things.
Right. Well, here's a note. Here's my second note. And I wrote a bunch of notes about this movie and then I came to this conclusion. So I put it up the top because I think it's important.
Yeah.
I've written here, Spider-Man: No Way Home is the Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice of the MCU.
Okay.
Let me finish, James. Okay, so it's ambitious.
Yep.
It's huge in scope.
Yep.
Good cast, charismatic cast, you like them. Good superheroing moments.
Yep.
Good emotional moments, like you said.
Yep.
Looks great. However, James, there is a big but on the horizon.
Yep.
And I'm not just talking about this caboose right here.
You look like a frog in a pair of pants, mate. What are you talking
And then
about?
I've got a stage direction in here that says point to but for emphasis.
Did you draw a picture?
No, I didn't draw a picture. I didn't have time. But we can just put dick butt in.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
fine. Okay. But here's the note that I have. And again, this movie contains a few elements that are so, if I may, monumentally stupid that they threaten to derail the whole thing. And
As in the movie or the universe?
Maybe both, but the movie, I think for sure. And I think for some people, this stuff will. Now, to be clear, I like this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it. I think this movie contains maybe my favorite superhero moment of the year. It's maybe not the thing you're thinking of.
I think I do know what you're thinking of.
But I think it's probably exactly what you think I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, I think there are some genuine, great moments of emotional weight to a lot of this stuff. I think some of the action is good. I think some of the action especially is reminiscent of not all of it, but I think some of it has that Sam Raimi action feel to it. A real kind of brutal intensity to some of the fight sequences.
I completely agree,
that maybe were absent in... I mean, there was elements... I think there has been elements of it in the last two, but I think this one sort of ramps it up.
Yeah.
But again... I had a lot of fun with this, and I think as an overall experience, I'm like, this was definitely worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
What a blast!
I'm glad I didn't know it all going in.
Yes, but I think that some of it was very dumb.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
And I think in the sense, the reason I've said it's like Batman v Superman is because that movie, when it came out, I didn't like it. I think. But I've come to appreciate there's a lot of good stuff in it, and in subsequent watches, I have had fun with it, and a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I've derived a lot of fun from it. But there's a lot of stuff that is very stupid in it. And in this one, I've kind of I did a speed run in the cinema of this movie where I'm just gonna. I've learned over the span of several years to just be I'm just going to zip through. And
I think this, though, is more, as a blockbuster, is way more satisfying, at least on first viewing, than Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
There's things that I anticipated in Batman Superman, which they ended up doing or not doing, which I was like, okay. But this, I feel like the things that I wanted to see, it did deliver on.
Yeah.
And I
it's good fan service as well.
Totally,
but again, I think some people will be on the fence. I think if this was not a sort of some characters that I liked, I might be like, God, this fan service.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think because I'm of course, I remember this and I enjoyed these and I liked these people. So that was a fun little nod or what have you. So
I think it's also okay that so I think it's similar in Endgame in some ways because you cannot really watch Endgame on its own.
Yeah, right.
I think this isn't as, not that Endgame is airtight, but it doesn't feel as airtight as Endgame was.
Yeah, right.
But it is kind of in that vein of, you could enjoy this, I guess, if you didn't know anything about it. But it certainly helps if you've seen the things that this is referencing and the people who appear and whatnot. But I also think, like, as a movie-going experience, that's totally okay that it's built this way.
Yeah.
Because I think...
This is the movie that Marty Scorsese was warning us about. This is the roller coaster. And if you have fun with this, and I did, like, that's great.
Yeah.
But maybe some people don't want roller coasters and they're like...
But like, to be honest, like I've never, and I was in a preview screening with lots of fans, and people went ape shit like 5 times maybe.
Yeah.
And I've also seen that in people in Australia as well, which is unusual.
Yeah.
Cheering in this movie multiple times, which doesn't really happen. Did you have a similar experience?
Well, my cinema was not that packed because I went on like daytime.
Yeah.
But people were like, oh, and cheering.
Hooting and hollering.
Little bit of hooting and hollering, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you were talking about like nostalgia and things that they brought back. So one of the huge things was the villains.
Yes.
And I think there was a danger, and I was worried at some point that they were just going to be like, oh, and he said this line, so he's saying it again. There's a moment, and okay, there are
a couple.
Minor spoiler where the Green Goblin says, I'm somewhat of a scientist myself, which is a line. And then people laughed and whatever, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fun and whatever. And I guess it could be something he would say to people.
Sure.
But I was
That's
worried
his go-to.
they're just going to keep doing that, but they don't really do nostalgia in that way. It's not strictly, look at this, I'm saying this, do you remember this? I mean, there are moments of that, and there are certainly hints to other things. This is hard to do, not spoilers, isn't it?
Look, we can talk about how did you feel about the inclusion of, because they're in the trailer, Doc Ock,
so
Electro.
It's Doc Ock, Electro, Lizard, Goblin, Sandman. Big glow up for Electro.
Yeah.
He's essentially literally got him. It's like a different man though.
Yeah.
He's so cool now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like
just Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, and it is the same version from the Amazing Spider-Man as well.
I feel like maybe he was him and the Lizard and probably Sandman were a little bit underused. Like we got
different Lizard design as well. I thought the Lizard looked more photorealistic in the Amazing Spider-Man than he did here. I thought I think there was some. And it seems as if they reuse some of this Sandman
and there's also
footage from Spider-Man
if
3.
I may be critical of an otherwise like technically mostly flawless movie.
Yeah.
Some of the dubbing of the Lizard and the Sandman felt very there when they were not there.
They were absolutely not there.
I'm not even sure that Rhys Ifans and Thomas Hayden Church were in the main credits.
Yeah, well, see, what I think, and again, this is a minor spoiler, but you do see them in human form. And it seems as if, and some people have made the comparisons online, that they've just taken footage directly from their movies. And they've just voiced the other parts. And that might be true for this movie. Because they're not major players. Like the big ones are Doc Ock. And Willem Dafoe killed it.
Yeah.
So good. Incredible.
Let's maybe save most of the Willem Dafoe talk.
There's a spider sense scene. That involves him, which again we won't spoil. But okay, let's take it back a bit. I thought the first half of this, or the first portion before we hit like the villains and then things really kick off, I felt it was like, I was even beyond when we meet the villains. It felt tonally kind of all over the place, and it was like kind of like blink, blonk. Oh, what's going? I've slipped on a banana peel. Like it felt that kind of vibe.
Okay,
and it's kind of like
slapstick comedy.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, yeah, this is all right, I guess. And it felt kind of the same as the last two, and and not in an exciting way. But then it does hit a point where it becomes an entirely different thing, which I think it gets significantly better from that point. It just kind of feels like, what am I going to do? And I think this might be the end of the era of like, this Spider-Man is an idiot and a child. Yeah. And I think we're going to get less of that going forward.
Yeah, right.
Which again, we will discuss going up forward. What did you think about the inclusion of Doctor Strange? And there's we saw the battle in the trailer. What did you think of that? They have a mirror dimension face-off.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to see Benedict Cumberbatch.
Isn't it funny when it gets to the point where they go into the mirror dimension and things are bending and twisting and we're just like, yeah, it's pretty good. Because we've seen it like...
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man got punched out of his body. His astral form got punched out of his body. It's fine, I guess. Yeah,
that's good.
Cool.
It's good stuff.
Okay, how about this? And because this is in the trailer, I feel we can discuss it. The highway battle between Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus. How'd you feel about it? Because we've seen, again, the high watermark for Spider-Man versus Dr. Octopus is obviously Spider-Man 2.
And there's a few really good fight scenes in that. Yeah.
And again, like I would say the absolutely iconic, sequence where Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2, his spider sense goes off, and then a taxi, I think, just comes through the window where he and Mary Jane are having
Well,
coffee.
but there's like that. There's the train.
Yeah.
There's the side of the building. All of the. I think this one felt kind of weightless, and I think also
but that's a function of no real arms,
I
right?
think I totally think so. And there's a moment where he's walking and he's just grabbing huge concrete pipes and just flinging them like they're nothing. And I'm like, how strong is? How light is that? How strong is this guy? Like it felt like it wasn't a bad scene.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that was a patch on anything that we saw in Spider-Man 2. I think there is good action in this, but that was just kind of like,
Yeah,
they're doing
and
it.
Also, again, like I feel like one of the downfalls of Tom Holland's Spider-Man is he is technology up the wazoo. Like he's they're not shy about giving he can use the nanotechnology suit whenever he wants. So it's like it does feel inherently less dangerous if he's trying to save people, but also he's got Stark Industries technology and he can really do anything. The idea that he might be strong, but he is not physically a match for Dr. Octopus, who has these deadly arms, and it's not quite up there, really.
No, I agree. Let's do spoilers.
I'm going to say best movie
I'm
ever.
going to
I had a lot
say
of fun.
definitely best movie ever.
Just get in there. You maybe you got to push past some dumb stuff, which we will talk about.
I think it's a really good like experience.
Yeah, right.
And it sounds like I want to stress as well, I very much enjoyed this. It was a blast.
Yeah.
It really was, especially with a crowd.
Let me ask you this question.
Spoilers?
Not quite.
Okay.
Would you give the dumb stuff in this movie a pass if you weren't predisposed to like the cast and the characters already?
Probably not.
If this was a generic guy, like maybe he's a generic superhero or he's a generic wizard and the same stuff happens.
No, probably not.
Yeah, same, I think.
But that's
Yeah.
I mean, it's all in the movie, isn't it?
It's true, yeah.
You know?
You can't separate that out.
It's interesting because it's like, it's how you feel about a movie, not necessarily like
That's true.
You can get past, you can get past certain things, I guess.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think what I try to get across in this sort of stuff is, even if an element of a movie doesn't make sense or what have you, sometimes it's a case of, well, that was a great scene and that was worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
Or like, it's great to see these actors bouncing off each other and that's a lot of fun, or et cetera. And that is worth it to me, and I can look past how dumb it is. Like, not everything. Again, we live in a world where like we have to sort of endlessly analyze this sort of stuff, and so many movies of the past, you saw it at the cinema and you just let it sort of wash over you and enjoy it.
You didn't watch Daredevil again.
You didn't watch Daredevil again?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Spoilers.
So best movie ever, James?
Yeah, definitely. Best movie
Okay,
ever.
spoilers. Number one spoiler. Look, we've yapped and yapped about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's fine, and we'll get back to Spider-Man. But Charlie Cox is back, baby.
He's back, baby. He's in it for one scene.
Daredevil forever, Iron Fist never.
He catches a brick.
Oh my god,
Catches a brick.
That's my favorite moment of
Oh, really?
That's my favorite superheroing moment.
Why is that? That's not the scene I thought.
It's
you were
just
gonna say.
I just really liked it, and I just liked the fact that he was back, and
I think I did a little clap when I saw him.
yeah, maybe. And yeah, it's great to see him. I don't know if he's going to do anything other than cameo, but I think it's
I think he's in some upcoming TV stuff as well. Maybe She-Hulk as well.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, maybe he'll show up in the last episode of Hawkeye.
I would love that.
We're good, right?
Yeah, and if Spider-Man could as well. I don't know if that's probably
Yeah.
less likely, but
there was some crossover because obviously we see Rogers the musical in Spider-Man No Way Home and etc. Just the fact that he showed up and he didn't. I wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't expecting him to suit up as Daredevil and be Spider-Man's new dad or whatever. But just the idea that he showed up and you don't know who. And I think a lot of people. I think a lot when that guy appeared, a lot of people in the cinema didn't know who he was because maybe they haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But just the idea that this guy shows up, he's their lawyer, he's obviously blind, and then he one hand catches a brick that's being hurled through a window without looking.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man asks him how he did that, and he's like, "I told you I'm a very good lawyer." Like, I think that's.
It's interesting also that I think that's a good inclusion if you don't know anything about that character, because you would then go, "Who is that?"
Yeah,
and you'd go home and you'd look into it. And that
way home.
And it preps you for the next thing. I guess before we get to the big thing, but the other big spoiler is that Aunt May dies in this, which I thought was a really good moment. And, she was really good, and I thought that was one of the emotional beats of this movie that really worked for me. I also thought it was the turning point of the movie where it wasn't just like, what's going on? I don't understand. I want to get into college. I'm like, okay, yep, all right.
Yeah, I think her death scene was very, very well done, and we got a kind of a.
She got a vague injury.
Yeah, I felt.
What was it?
She got hit with a goblin's light.
But where?
In a whole body, I think. I think it broke every bone in her body. Just the moment where Peter is just trying to like get her to look at him, and like it felt like a very real kind of moment of that's what would happen if that was you in there.
Yeah, and it gives him like it does. It's a low point, and it's kind of like he's alone. He has to deal with this by himself before he suddenly doesn't. But just to go back from that a little bit, that the apartment scene was like a sitcom where they bring in the villains and they're all like, singing or whatever, and he's got the machine that can do anything that's curing them. I thought it just made clothes, but it can do
anything.
do
make
anything.
Yeah.
I wish I had
miracle box.
I wish I had a machine that can make anything.
Right. You could make some bloody 10 minutes of bloody quiet in your house.
You're not bloody wrong. But I also think with that machine, I was kind of okay with it because I'm like, yeah, I've seen the machine that makes anything. I saw it in the last movie.
Yeah, it was on a plane.
Yeah, which is such a flimsy kind of hand wave for me to accept.
Yeah.
Just be like, I've seen this. But
Can we talk about hand waving?
Oh, can I just quickly say
please.
before we do the hand waving, and then that leads into the Norman Osborn Goblin reveal where he's changed, and that fight between those two
felt very
multiple floors and ceilings and just going, through things. Yeah, exactly. It felt
to me like
the end of Spider-Man 1.
Yeah, and it felt to me like this Spider-Man's like, I've never fought a guy like this.
Yeah, this is a different kind
of insane. Like, this isn't just some guy who wants revenge because somebody stole his money.
Yeah.
Or like, this isn't a guy who he lost his job and now he's mad about it. This guy's like, I want to kills this guy. I feel like doing some murders because this.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the fact that they were like they broke his mask early on, and we just got what everybody wanted all along, which is Willem Dafoe looking like the Green Goblin because that's his whole deal.
That's what he looks like. I just thought that was terrific. But you're right, I didn't really think about that. But everybody he's faced is kind of like a wacky dude, and I mean the Vulture, I guess, would be the exception. But even then, you could talk to him, but this guy, like straight crazy. Like there's no real getting through to him, you know what I mean? Like just very dangerous, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
What were you going to say though?
Well, I was going to say, in terms of hand waving, and they what we would call
this kind of hand waving?
Oh, like a magic hand waving. I haven't even written a note about how Ned is magic now. But in terms of like, we talk about lampshading something or like hanging a lantern on a thing where something in a movie doesn't really make any sense. So, but if the characters mention it, we all just go, okay, they get it as well, so let's move on. So Spider-Man's main issue in this movie is there's two. At the end of the last movie, everybody knew his identity.
Yep.
And also he was wanted for murder.
Yeah.
So again, they sort of hand wave the murder thing away because Daredevil shows up and he's like, actually, we've sorted that out. So that's not the problem.
Don't worry about it.
So the only issue really is that Peter Parker is famous now.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to be famous, but like...
Because he wants to get into college. He wants
to get into college. And it's just... And here we go. I'm going to talk about some stuff that I think is dumb. Again, everybody's still allowed to enjoy this movie because I did.
Yeah.
And if I enjoyed it, you're all allowed to enjoy it. But everybody in the comic books, this is more significant because most people in the Marvel comic book universe have secret identities.
Yeah.
But in this universe, everybody knows who everybody is.
Yes.
Like in the most recent episode of Hawkeye that we watched, Clint Barton goes to New York and he goes to a building where they've commemorated the Avengers saving the city, and just all their names
on it.
Just their civilian names are on a plaque. It's like, everybody knows, and they all seem to be fine.
Yeah. What's the difference between this guy is what you're saying?
Like
why do they hate this guy?
Why do they hate this?
Because like the Mysterio thing, I guess.
Well, the Mysterio thing, but again, he gets his name cleared.
Yeah.
All of this ultimately comes down to he wants his friends to go to college, so he undoes all of reality.
Yeah.
And I understand the idea is he's supposed to be a teenager. He's supposed to be kind of dumb and he makes dumb
But why
decisions.
did Doctor Strange do that?
But Doctor Strange is an adult.
Yeah.
And I think he should have said... And also, Spider-Man just saved the entire universe. Like, he should know the extent of stakes and stuff like that. But, like, I think Strange should have said to Peter, like, he should have come in and gone, look, when one crackly orange portal closes, another one opens. This is life now. Like, I used to be a very successful surgeon. Then I was in a freak Lamborghini accident.
Yep.
I don't know how it happened.
Yep.
And now I do this.
Yeah.
So maybe just roll
Adjust.
with it.
The difference, I think, is supposed to be that he's young and he's got things that he wants to do anonymously before maybe he gets outed.
Yeah.
I guess.
But also, I feel like, again, Strange should have been... And I know, the idea is that Strange is quite arrogant and he thinks he could probably handle this. But I think... So... One of the issues, I think, as we do more and more superhero solo movies, the question always arises, why don't they just bring in the Avengers? Why don't they just bring in the Justice League?
Yeah.
And the narrative reason is because you can just say, oh, they're busy or they're whatever.
Yeah.
But that is less and less likely the more characters we introduce. You'd
Yeah.
be like, oh, is Ant-Man not busy?
Yeah,
Is,
especially when you get to the point
is
where you're
Falcon
like,
not busy? Like,
doesn't Falcon live on the street?
yeah, exactly. There's
Like-
so many of them, and obviously the out of continuity, like the reason in the real world is like, well, because this is their solo movie. Just it's fine.
Because you think like Captain America Falcon would probably turn up to the Statue of Liberty for a big punch up.
Yeah, exactly.
He
And
probably
so we're
would
supposed to be
show
like,
up.
well, it's just a solo movie. It's a solo movie, so just don't worry about it. Just assume they're busy. It's fine. Or also like in a universe where like again people can fly and shoot lasers out of their eyes and control people's minds or what have you.
Yeah.
You might say, okay, well then just roll with it and say that he wants to use magic to change everybody's minds or whatever. But I would say that it's even more preposterous in that universe because he has so many more options before he gets to cast a spell that changes all of reality.
Yeah.
Like if he went to Doctor Strange and said, hey, can you make everybody can you reverse time? Can you make everybody forget that I was Spider-Man? I reckon Doctor Strange should have said, most of your hate seems to be coming from one guy. How about I cast a spell so he doesn't have a mouth anymore? Or how about I turn his brain inside out so he can only say nice things about you? Like, that would be easier.
Yeah. The changing the entire
Universe. Or,
also the fact that he just launched into it and didn't go, is there anyone in particular you want to remember? He just went, literally everybody, huh? All right, let's get this started.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have gone, now this is irreversible.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anybody who maybe you would want, like even me, do you want the other Avengers to know who you are?
Yeah,
Like, what are
right.
we talking about? Like, just to go, yep, let's do it. Is he
Yeah.
drunk? Like,
great question. What's in that mug? Maybe it's a little Irish coffee or something. I don't know. But also, just on a different level, he wants Ned and MJ and himself to go to MIT.
Yeah.
Who's the most famous MIT alumni in the MCU?
Stark.
It's Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So are you saying that Pepper Potts couldn't call up the Dean of Admissions and be like, hey, just FYI, I saw this young man
yeah.
prevent the universe from being destroyed, so maybe give him another shot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or-
We'll buy you a new wing.
Or fight an octopus on a bridge.
Exactly. Oh yeah, then she's like, oh, I've changed my mind actually, which is interesting because in a lot of it's odd that that woman would be very convinced of that when she could just very well be like, oh, you set
Did
this
you
up.
do this?
You set this up to do this, and you are a menace. Oh, speaking of, look. Okay, let me ask you this, James.
Okay.
And again, I still enjoy this movie, but I'm gonna throw this one at you.
A lot of caveats, Mason.
I know, right? Was Spider-Man right in the end
To do what he did.
to do what he did?
As in, like, reverse everything
Yep.
and whatever. Probably not. But I think what they were looking to do was restore the status quo.
Yeah.
So he's not Iron Boy. We'll probably get it later.
Yeah.
He's not Iron Boy anymore. He's got his secret identity. He can go to college. He's poor. He's got no connections.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big complaints of this particular version is that
He's too rich.
he's too rich and he can just go to Tony Stark or Happy and be like, I need school books.
Yeah.
or whatever. You know?
May I have some school books?
Yeah,
please?
he's got no support net.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Oh.
I should have said web.
Should have said web. He's not.
He doesn't have a support webnet anymore.
He's not the trapster, James.
No. But what do you think?
What I'm saying is, and again, if I may be slightly critical of this movie, I kind of feel like Aunt May died because he didn't want himself and his friend and his girlfriend to have to go to community college
That's
for a
exactly
year.
what happened.
Right? She'd literally still be alive if he didn't do this.
Yeah.
So
The other thing, and I did a video on this, so his idea is to cure the villains before sending them back. Because Stranger's like, they're all going to die in their particular realities, which I don't even think is true. And I'm going to send them back and they're going to die at that particular point in time or whatever. But he's like, no, we'll cure them and then send them back to die as normal men.
yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
Like,
the
if
guy
I-
who's strapped to the sun and drowning.
Yeah,
Like, how's that going to
like
go?
regardless, because as they explain, and the characters explain, they're like, I was about to die and then I'm here.
Yeah.
So like, regardless of whether Dr. Octopus is good or evil, he's still like hundreds of feet under the East River or whatever it is. He's still going to drown.
Norman
right?
Osborn is not going to dodge that glider.
No, that's very true.
But what I thought, and I put this in the video, is that he probably now put them back in the regular present day.
oh, I see.
So
right.
time has
Okay.
passed and it's Doc Ock in 2021 or whatever. Anyway, we haven't really talked about
The main
that Ned's
thing,
magic.
Oh yeah, that he's got a sling ring now.
But Ned's magic, he lost it, leads into a reveal, a big cheer. The first portal he opens is he lied to us. He lied to us for 2 years running.
And I hope he continues to lie forever. I hope in future people are like, he's doing a new project or something, and people are like, Andrew Garfield, was it nice to share a stage with Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Who? Sorry? What do you mean?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm here to promote Keep Ticking, Keep Booming, the sequel.
That's right. He's back from the dead.
So Andrew Garfield comes through and the mask comes off immediately, and huge cheers when he entered, and also when the mask comes off. He is incredible.
He's so good.
He's just the best, which makes me feel even worse for him for his Spider-Man movies.
They were bad movies, especially the last one.
He's fucking running rings around everybody, just constant. You stand him next to Tobey Maguire, who I liked, by the way.
Yeah.
They're just not they're not even close.
I'm sure we have done either on this podcast or as part of a video, like we ranked the Spider-Man, like the cinematic Spider-Man. And I'm sure I went, Tom Holland, and I don't know where, but just at that point, we had only seen them like in the context of their own movies. You're right. He's running rings around the other two. Like I feel he's got, and again, maybe he feels to me like the modern comic book version.
Sure,
He feels like he's quippy but not in an annoying way.
And he's like 30, which is like the modern comic book version.
He's fast with the dialogue.
Yeah.
Like it's a good back and forth between everybody. And I mean, maybe they did that in editing, but then why wouldn't you do it with everybody else?
But also, like, he seems like he's just having a blast and just being like, I get another shot at this.
Yeah.
Because he was the one that you got the sense that, like, he didn't want to stop doing it.
Yeah.
And this very much felt like a redemption story for not only that character, but for Andrew Garfield.
Is he 30, Andrew Garfield?
He's my age, so he's like 38.
Okay, right.
Yeah. He's a good 38. But
he doesn't seem like he's aged at all.
no, he really. I mean, and Tobey Maguire is 46, and he's a good 46, but he's 46.
Yeah.
When he came through, though, to be fair, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is completely devoid of charisma, but there is a charm to him and a simplicity, and he's just like, oh, this is interesting, this is pleasant.
Yeah.
That's kind of who he is, and I also think he didn't really miss a beat in coming back as that character either. What did you think?
Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the thing, James. And again, it was very charming. I loved they were all working together. And again, this, there's a moment in it which I think in lesser hands it would have been cringy, where I think Tobey Maguire Spider-Man says to Garfield Spider-Man, "No, you're amazing." And I'm like, oh, because he's an amazing Spider-Man. I'm like, that's a lot of fun.
But also coming from like a nerd like him, he would say something like that. You know what I mean? Like, no, you're great. Come on.
Look, it was good to see them all, but I think it felt a little bit like the other two Spider-Men had sort of been preserved in amber since their continuities ended, and it felt in a way like the writers were afraid to say that they had done anything else since.
Yes.
Like they'd be too afraid to approach these characters and say, well, after Spider-Man 3 or after Amazing Spider-Man 2, we did this and this and this. So like Tom Holland Spider-Man is having a conversation with him, and he's like, "What are the weirdest villains you've ever faced?" And they're just like
the ones that you
Venom,
saw.
and then
the Rhino.
Yeah, and exactly, like they're just like the ones you see here, and another one that is in this movie, and it's like you never fought anybody else.
I thought that was. I actually did a video, and it'll be up now, on the things that happen after those movies, because there are hints. And there's things that have kind of been revealed that happen in those universes. But the only things we really got was that Tobey Maguire is still sort of together with
MJ,
sort of. Yeah. But I wanted to be like, does he have kids? Do they live together?
Well,
is he doing this every day? Does he work? What does he do?
And what I was really hoping for, and if I feel like the movie missed one trick, it was a post-credit sequence, and we'll get to the actual post-credit sequence later, where there's like a tying up of loose ends or a denouement, if you will, where we see both of those guys back in their realities. Yeah. And maybe we see it like in Spider-Verse, where Peter B. Parker goes back to his reality, and we're like, oh, maybe he's going to get back with MJ or like what have you. Like we didn't see even a hint to what they're up to. Like, and I think
they also didn't come with problems that were then solved in this universe.
That's
which,
true.
You know, like Spider-Verse, like you mentioned, Peter B. Parker's like, I don't know what to do. I'm divorced and I'm sad. And he goes back with like a new zest for life and being Spider-Man, where it was just kind of like, bye, everybody.
Well, maybe they didn't want to do that. Maybe they didn't want to be like,
well, sure.
Well, Spider-Verse did it and we can't just do a riff on Spider-Verse. But again, it would have been nice. And again, like the idea that And there was this sadness to the idea, and I guess they can't all be exactly the same, but the idea that Garfield Spider-Man, Gwen Stacy died, and he's just been like not
Hitting people real hard.
just hitting people really hard and being sad and alone for 6 years or whatever it is, just felt like a real downer. But also there's a moment in this where there's a battle, and if you can imagine it, an action sequence.
I can imagine
the sequence on when they're fighting all the villains on the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where they're not fighting together properly, and the other two are like Garfield and Maguire Spider-Man are like, but Tom Holland has to lead because the other two are like, we've never been in a team before. You've never been in a team before. In the decade and a half Maguire Spider-Man, you've never.
Also, Tobey Maguire fought with New Goblin.
That's true.
So he has technically been in
but it's like
a duo at least.
Yeah, but like the idea that they've never fought it because they don't have Avengers.
They don't have anything,
but
apparently.
Like you've never teamed up with like Silver Sable or Black Cat or Prowler or Rocket Racer or like
another Spider-Man from another dimension.
Paladin, like any of these old dudes that like would have been in. It just this idea of like we can't say they did anything outside of the movies.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that is interesting. Yeah, that they decided to make that decision for good or ill. I also think it's interesting how when they're talking about who they fought, and Tom Holland's like, I fought a purple alien on Earth, and Tobey Maguire's like, well, I did a thing with it, and Andrew Garfield is clearly like he's aware that he's like the worst one. He's like, oh man, I haven't fought anybody. Like I thought that was really cool that it was kind of an acknowledgement of like, hey, I'm not in the best movies and I haven't done interesting things as the other guys.
There were some guys, they were in a van and they were listening to me. And I don't know what happened to them. Maybe that was a loose end that never got tied up.
But I think generally them together, it did really work, you know, when they're talking about the web shooters and how that works and they're doing science together and they're all called Peter. I think all that is really
Let me
good.
ask you this. Do you think either of them will return for another one?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
to be the dad?
I don't know whether they'll be the dad, but I think they'll definitely do this again in some capacity.
Yeah.
Whether that will be could be that Doctor Strange movie covered up even, but I think down the line we will definitely see more of this. It might not be for a while, but what do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, look at the money in this. As if they're not, that it's already made.
Yeah. What else?
What else?
That's almost the end of my notes, I think.
Well, here's something that I think one of the best moments in this is the moment I thought you were talking about, which is the best moment, where Andrew Garfield Spider-Man saves MJ. Oh, yeah. And like the catch in itself is like, it's fine, it's whatever. But the bit that worked for me was that Andrew Garfield had that kind of moment of redemption where he didn't catch the previous person he dropped. And he kind of takes a moment to like, you know, like catch his breath and compose himself. And I thought that was really nice. And even though that movie isn't great, I always thought the death of Gwen Stacy it's quite a sad moment that they managed to capture quite
Everybody
well.
brought in a level of performance that they didn't have to, I think.
Yeah.
He didn't have to bring anything in. He could just been like, well, hey, I'm Spider-Man. Woo.
You know me.
Yeah.
Woo.
My catchphrase, woo.
Yeah, I also think like the moment where Peter Parker, the regular one, is fighting Green Goblin at the end.
Yes.
And he's just really hitting him. And Willem Dafoe's just hysterical, just being punched by this guy is just completely not fazed.
Yeah.
And then when he goes to kill him and it was the Tobey Maguire version that stopped him, I think that was very fitting for that it was that version.
Do you think, how do you feel about the fact that Aunt May was killed by somebody outside of the universe?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, great. Okay,
Are you bothered by it? Or?
Not really. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah. Okay. No, I mean, you know, good as any.
Good. Yep, that's true. Yep, good as any. She shouldn't have said, with great power comes great responsibility. That's
exactly.
Kiss of death. Don't do it. Now I've said it. What's interesting, though, as well, is that it was like somebody went, they finally said it, but like it was implied in previous movies that Uncle Ben had said it.
But I guess he didn't?
But
or she was just like...
But not in...
Just in case you forgot.
Not in so many words, because didn't he... Remember, is it Civil War where Spider-Man is like...
He says he hints to it.
Hey, my uncle said that when you've got a lot of powers,
it's
maybe
important.
you shouldn't just let people be in trouble. You got to save them because you got to take some... you got to be there for them.
Got to be there for them.
Got to be there
Something
for 'em.
along that. I enjoyed it when they did say that together. The great power comes great responsibility. And Andrew Garfield's like, my Uncle Ben said that. And I'm like, no, he didn't. He said something like, if you've got a responsibility, it's your duty that you need to. It's important that you look after people and you use the abilities that you have to the best of your ability and you be a nice boy.
Yeah.
Like, didn't say that at all.
Now I'm off to be the president. Or I already was the president. Can't remember.
I'm getting a paycheck either way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I also like the little moment between Electro and Andrew Garfield version at the end where he's like, oh, I thought you'd be black.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you reckon there's that Spider-Man out there? And it's like a little Miles Morales kind of note.
Yeah.
Which makes me think maybe they're going to do, because I know they're discussing at the moment whether they're going to do interdimensional Miles Morales.
Yeah, right.
Or...
Same universe Miles
But they
Morales.
could build up Miles Morales in the Andrew Garfield universe and they'd kill Andrew Garfield and bring him across if they wanted to, you know?
They could bring...
Which is what they did in the comics.
They could bring
sort of.
Spider-Verse version to the MCU universe, I think. They could just go... I mean, they
same
might,
guy, we reckon.
Yeah,
that's what we reckon.
Yeah, that's what we reckon, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Okay, what do any other things? I was going to say, we've got to go with, I mean, post-credits...
Before
and
that,
future of this universe.
Can we talk about the space-time rip that happens? Did you see any big players in the space-time rip?
No, I
think I saw a rhino.
Oh, I saw...
but like not the mechanical suit.
Oh,
like
weird
skin tight.
Yeah, skin tight rhino.
I saw Scorpion. I think I saw Black Cat. There was a guy with a spear who I thought was Craven.
Yeah, the only guy I recognised was the guy with the spear. And I thought it was Craven, yeah.
But anyway, we get the memory wipe at the end. But you were talking about how it sets up a new era. It's not a funeral. A lot of people said it ends with a funeral because, you know, I'm not a big fan of the Spider-Man funerals. It's a gravestone.
It's a visit to a gravestone. It's different.
But yeah, so he goes and lives in an apartment. He's paying rent. He's poor. He makes a new costume.
Yeah, like a handmade one.
What did you think of that? I didn't get a good enough look at it. I think, I mean, it's very like traditional.
It's very blue. It's very shiny blue.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of like the 80s kind of.
Yeah, I didn't really get a good look at it either. I guess we'll have to.
They'll release a something.
They'll release a still or like an Avengers
hot toy or whatever,
or like a Avengers game skin or something like that. We can just play his new version. I don't know. Is this? I was also. I looked at it and I'm like,
kept that other suit.
Is the logo bigger?
It seems to be. Yeah, I think the logo on the back is different. It's like that big round one with the.
Yeah, I think the idea was he was inspired by the other two Spider-Man and he's made a sort of a hybrid of theirs.
Yeah,
is that the idea? I think
I would have kept the other one.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it could kill people.
Yeah. It's tough to say, like, whether it was wrecked or not.
Didn't seem to be, but whatever. I don't know. It just seemed like a comfortable suit.
Yeah, so, and again...
I like how Tobey Maguire had a bad back.
That was a fun moment. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a good moment. See, it's a good fun moment.
I think those moments were the moments that really worked for me.
Yeah.
Not so much the... You know, like the actions, you know, are good, but just being in little interactions that weren't like, do you remember this? Yeah. I did this. But just like... Seeing the different chemistry at work. Yeah. What else are we going to... So the future, though.
Yeah. So, I mean, what they've done here... Is his apartment in New York?
I think so, yeah.
It's not in Boston. Because then later he goes and he visits MJ and Ned and MJ's working in the donut shop. So what do you think... How long do you think it'll take before MJ's memory comes back?
Yeah, I don't know.
Immediately?
Probably end of next movie, probably.
Probably end of next movie.
Maybe they'll keep it for a while because... You know, if you look at the original trilogy, she kind of cottons on at the end of the first one.
Yeah.
And then they retcon that a little bit into the second one.
Yeah, maybe we need he's going to date a Gwen Stacy for a while.
Sure,
that might be a thing.
Maybe you'll kill a Gwen Stacy.
Maybe you'll kill
You got to.
You got to do it.
You simply must.
You got to check it off the list. You got to check it off the bucket list. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if... But again, like, circumstances change and, like, the plans for future MCU movies change, so they might have a thing where it's like after the end of 2 movies, she's going to remember somehow, or they might just go, oh, we need her actually to remember for the plot of the next one, so we'll just say, Doctor Strange built a thing, they built a. He right at the last second, he was like, oh, I can do a little bit of extra magic, and if he says a certain phrase, she'll just remember him or whatever.
It also felt strange to me. The Doctor Strange was like, this is strange. But he was like, I'm so sad. So I'm sorry, Peter Parker. It's been nice knowing you. So I think he'd just be like, this has been a fucking hassle.
It's absolute nightmare. I don't know why I agreed to any of this. I should have done the mouth thing. I should have removed that guy's mouth. It's just one guy.
It's one guy, yeah.
And again,
just turn up to him and go, stop saying it, I'll kill you.
Yeah. And again, I feel like, you know, and again...
Replace him with a guy from another dimension.
Yeah.
Whatever.
My feeling is, like... And again, this Jameson feels like just a real craven coward.
Yeah.
Imagine if just like Sam Wilson, Captain America, just showed up and was like, "Stop it." I think he would.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Don't. And he'd be like, "Oh yes, sir. Sorry, sir."
Yeah.
You know.
So we got 2 post-credit scenes. Where one with Venom, which seemed pointless.
Oh, actually, I was going to say, do you think he'll end up? Do you think they'll all end up at MIT together?
Yeah.
Or do you think I'm kind of because he is very.
You think he's going to take some time to?
He's very New York. Well, he's got. If you look when he drops his bags off at his new apartment, he has like the GED book, like the high school equivalency thing. So I think I'm wondering if because everybody's memory of him was erased, so were all his high school records. So now he has to get his.
That's a great question.
Again.
Like, does he have? Is all his digital footprint erased?
Don't know
either.
Is he still in the Avengers? I think probably, but maybe he never took his mask off.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, because he was definitely there, wasn't he?
He's definitely there.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering if maybe in a sequel, Ned and MJ go to MIT in Boston, and then like opening a couple of scenes, they come back to New York because they're like, it was fun, but I didn't feel like something was missing, and I don't know what it was or something like that.
I think look,
also, Pepper Potts could have just given them jobs.
I agree.
Yeah.
Just straight out.
Yeah, jobs and money.
Yeah,
yeah,
you're right. But you want the college experience, Mason.
Yeah, I guess you do.
You want that $200,000 student debt.
Yep.
That's what you want. You want to be
like, I threw up there, and I threw up there, and I threw up there.
So there's a Venom post credits, which is just whatever, and that really confirmed to me. And having watched the last Venom, Sony should not make solo Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
Live action.
Right.
Because
you're saying without the intervention of Marvel.
Yes. And I know that's probably maybe not necessarily a popular opinion, but just look what they do when they're left to their own devices. And they're not even terrible, a lot of them. It's just like, this is whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and like the last two Venom movies. And look, I know Morbius isn't out yet, but who gives a shit? And maybe it's amazing. Like it could be. But
maybe it's amazing. Put that on the poster.
Roll the dice.
Yeah.
Maybe it's amazing. But I don't have any faith in them.
Maybe people will be thrilled by a man, he's weak and then he gets powers and he's strong.
I've never seen that
You've
before.
Never seen it.
But I think maybe that's what these movies have set up to do also, is isolate Spider-Man so that they can pull out of the deal. Because there is only one more contractual contract agreement.
Oh.
Yes, he's got one more MCU movie.
And then it goes back to Sony.
I think they're going to probably roll it over, but they don't have to now.
Yeah, right.
Because where's Iron Man? He's dead. Where's Thor? Thor doesn't know him.
Yeah.
You know?
But I mean, Marvel and Kevin Feige would be aware of that, right? They'd be
completely.
Like,
But what I'm saying is it's an option now.
It is
an
an
option.
They
could
now.
do
Yeah,
it if
true,
they were so inclined.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know this, but during the split of Marvel and Sony, they were going to make a Kraven the Hunter movie. That's what they were going to move forward with.
Okay, great.
And then they got everything back and did
Who's
this.
he hunting? Regular animals.
Regular animals. I guess it's also we need to mention the Doctor Strange trailer that played.
I mean, before we do that, I was going to say, but a little bit of I've seen people on the internet asking how did Venom get drawn into the MCU, and I think it was just cross wires, because the idea being that like everybody who knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man got drawn to the MCU. I think, and then,
well, Electro didn't know who he was.
Did he?
Nope.
Huh?
Because he took his mask off and he's like, "Oh, it's you."
Oh, right, yeah.
So I don't
Maybe
think
you had a little inkling.
Yeah, that rule isn't hard and fast. It seems.
Seems that way.
There is an explanation.
I think it was just cross wires because he went into the weird
Venom,
symbiote database or whatever it was.
Well, apparently the symbiotes, and I put this in the video on Sunday, that Venom is all the symbiotes are connected across the multiverse. So even if he didn't explicitly know, he could. That's why he was drawn there, and that's why when he saw him on TV, he's like, "This is interesting. I'm interested in this." Also, why?
Because other Spider-Man from another universe has been
Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man, whatever.
Yeah, right.
But like, but even little things that Sony do, like that shot where he's got the mask off and he's just standing. That doesn't happen.
That's true. Yeah.
And then Venom's gone and he leaves a symbiote because they're probably going to do Black Suit at some point, I guess.
Yeah.
But just I don't know. I don't even know if I want to see him fight that version of Venom.
No. Well, here's my question, I guess. So if we're going to follow traditional Spider-Man Venom, and this is a criticism I've had of the idea of putting this Spider-Man and this Venom together, is that this Venom has no ire against Spider-Man, which is so, and that is, I feel, a core element of.
Do you build a new Venom then?
You build a new Venom.
MCU Venom.
Who is there someone, like if we're following the traditional Venom storyline, Tom Holland Spider-Man will wear the black suit for a movie or 20 minutes or whatever. And then the symbiote will go to his greatest enemy or someone who has the biggest grudge against
someone
him.
who's under the bell.
Yeah, someone who's under the bell, exactly. So one of the members of Saved by the Bell.
That's right.
Probably Zach.
Probably Zach, not Screech. He died.
Yeah, Screech died.
R.I.P.
But could it be the Vulture's daughter?
Yeah.
Because she doesn't like him anymore, I guess, probably.
And then you can do Lady Venom.
You can do Lady Venom.
Would it be
Which
like...
we've only done twice before in live action.
Yeah, but could it be like another person who got the symbiote? Or you give it to his Flash Thompson's had
Flash
it or whatever.
Thompson, sure,
but
yeah.
I don't know whether that guy could pull off being a serious villain in
Right.
this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
great. I think he's funny, but I don't
Yeah.
know whether that would work as a
Yeah.
villain. Yeah, I honestly don't know. I think eventually they're just going to make Tom Hardy fight him. I think that's what they'll
Sure, yeah.
they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out,
because
yeah.
that's the version that people know at this point. And even though I'm not a huge fan, they make money. Those movies,
true.
they make a lot of money
That
for
is
some
true.
reason. Anyway, Doctor Strange trailer.
Yeah.
Bits and pieces, snippets and grippets.
I mean,
anything-
number one thing, Shumagorath is in this.
Yes.
The
Although
Sorcerer
somebody
Supreme
pointed
of
out
another dimension.
it might not be Shumagorath. It
Much
might be
might be
another
one of his mates.
interdimensional something.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there's that. Wanda's in it. We get glimpses of other bits and pieces in the multiverse, and the big reveal is, of course, that evil Doctor Strange
from What If?
What If? He's like, your greatest enemy is evil Doctor Strange from the What If animated series. You thought your greatest enemy was you, but it's this cartoon brought to life.
Different guy, yeah.
Different guy, we reckon. Eyeshadow. We've given him eyeshadow.
Yeah.
Very wig heavy in that trailer, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah,
so
see
what
that
is going on with that Doctor Strange wig in general? It's like a beehive from the 60s. It's crazy. Why do they do it? He's got hair. Just give him his regular hair. Why are they doing this?
Too
mate?
late. The wig's going to get bigger and bigger.
It's true. He does dye his beard, though. There's beard dye in this.
Oh, that's right.
That was fun. That was a fun little inclusion. I thought you'd appreciate this also. The special thanks to our good friend, producer, hero,
Avi
man
Arad.
of many talents, Avi Arad at the
yeah.
end. Look, to be fair, he's responsible for a lot of what is now.
Yeah, that's true.
He set up, like, the
Yeah.
Spider-Man trilogy is successful.
Yeah.
The original ones were big, like, in large part because of him, and I know he hasn't done great things since necessarily, but he has been involved in good things
Yeah.
also. He did a lot of the animated stuff in the 90s, which got
That's
people
true.
involved. So I can
But
understand.
didn't he get it cancelled ultimately?
Yeah, he got a bunch of stuff cancelled and everybody hates him or whatever. but you know, you cannot deny his meddling.
That's very
That
true.
cannot be denied.
Yeah.
Do you want me to talk a little bit about... sorry, go on.
I was going to say the only other thing I would mention in those credits is this the first time? Maybe it's in a previous one. Have they always been Spider-Man created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Okay, yeah. Well, this
Yeah.
one definitely has it, which is
Okay,
a nice
good.
touch. Also, one of the special thanks is to J. Michael Straczynski, who, of course, creator of Babylon 5, as you know, but also comic book writer. Of
course.
And he wrote the Spider-Man One More Day storyline, which is the one where...
The memory erasing.
The memory erasing one.
Okay, yeah, that's
But
interesting.
it's interesting because I only learned this week they made him write that.
Oh.
Like, that was like editorial publishing edict. They're like, we're bringing you on, but you have to write this. And
So he just took that bullet.
yeah, and he apparently at one point he wanted his name taken off the writing credits
Yeah.
for that story because he didn't like it so much, and nobody likes it really.
So he's just eaten that for years.
yeah, but now they've been like, special thanks for inspiring this movie, J. Michael Straczynski. So
Special thanks for eating shit
Yeah.
on behalf of us for
That's
all
right.
those years.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Look, honestly, I didn't read it at the time. It never really affected me. It's just like a
Yeah.
story point that I know of. But,
Yeah,
you know, I
yeah.
think there can be good things that spun out of it. Like, nobody likes the Clone Saga, but I think there's been good Spider-Man clone stuff since, you know?
yeah, it's weird that neither of the other Spider-Men went, yeah, and I got cloned, and that was weird.
Yeah.
You know, just give me one of those.
But then maybe if they mentioned another movie, they'd have to make it. I think
that's
they
true,
should,
yeah.
though.
Well, exactly.
Do a Spider-Man 4.
In a world where every movie is like, let's tease a little thing and see if people like it, and then we'll do it.
Yeah.
It's weird that they didn't go, maybe I'll have more adventures in the future or the past. Maybe we'll see some of my old adventures from the past.
I'm going to have adventures in the past. What do you reckon they paid Tobey Maguire? $5 million?
Yeah.
Yeah. He hasn't done much recently. He was in Boss Baby.
Oh, I
First Boss Baby.
was going to say I haven't seen Boss Baby like I would have seen Boss Baby.
But it's on your list
Yeah.
of movies to see. I got a quote here about the future from Kevin Feige from the New York Times.
Go on.
Amy and I and Disney and Sony are talking about...
Also, James.
Oh, Jesus, Mason. I'm in the middle of a big quote.
Yeah, I know you are, but Don Heck also got a thanks.
Okay.
He was like a long-time Avengers artist.
Yeah.
And he also co-created the costume for Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Can I do this quote now?
Oh, and also he
You can...
co-created Daredevil probably.
Probably.
He's one of those guys where it's
He
like
probably was involved,
He
but
passed
they-
away like 1995 or something like that.
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys that probably.
There's a lot of people that probably created things, isn't there?
Yeah, but then they didn't get the credit for some reason.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, New York Times, Kevin Feige says, Amy and I and Disney and Sony are talking about it. Yes, we are actively beginning to develop where the story heads next, which I only say outright because I don't want fans to go through any separation trauma like what happened after Far From Home. At the end of the movie we just made, we see Spider-Man make a momentous decision, one you've never seen him make before. It's a sacrifice, and then gives us a lot to work with for the next film. So yeah, the plan is currently that they are going to be working together, and it is moving forward because obviously in between the last movie and this movie, there was a bit of a falling apart and whatever. But then they came to a conclusion. Would you like me to read some reviews from people who've written to the show? This is from
Home.
Viton says, hashtag Weekly Planet Pod. Did Spider-Man No Way Home did the most Marvel thing, and that is found a way to restore the status quo. It's not just Tom's status quo, but it's the comics. So many possibilities, and he's so silky now.
He's very silky at the end, that's right.
Average Dawdler says, hashtag Weekly Planet Pod. Hey, Mr. Sunday Movies and at Wikipedia Brown, that's you, Mason.
It's me.
Watching Spider-Man No Way Home in theaters was an absolute blast. There were some big cheers, especially for Toby. Can you tell us the movie moments to which you guys actively cheered in the cinemas? Cheers. Never.
Yeah, I've never cheered for him.
I'm not against it. I don't know whether it's an Australian thing, but shut up. Everybody shut up in the theater.
I just don't want to miss a thing.
Yeah.
Aerosmith. So I want to Aerosmith this. I don't want to miss a thing. And I just would like, and that's why we generally speaking don't do reaction stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a guy who's like, what's this? I'm like, everyone so I can watch the thing.
Yeah. Now I'm going to watch it again, also in silence.
And then maybe I'll see and then the third time I'll probably stop it at moments and I'll see if little details.
You'll see what's what. Devesh says, hashtag Weekly Planet Pod. No Way Home, pretty good. No big leap in terms of filmmaking, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I smiled for most of the runtime. Holland at his best since Captain America Civil War, though the biggest laugh would definitely be the special thanks to Avi Arad in the credits. Hilarious. Good stuff. Craig says, No Way Home is a great event movie, but I don't think it is built to last and doubt it will stand the test of time. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I do want, I feel like I'm way too close to this to make that call right now.
So,
I'm not saying Craig is wrong. I'm saying entirely possible.
Maybe it's Craig also.
Maybe it's Craig. Yeah. That's true. But don't you think that's possible? Where people look back and go, like with The Force Awakens, and go, that was just fan service and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, right.
I think that's very possible.
I mean, a lot of people, again, it's... And
again, not to take away from...
No, and again, I think the internet, it as we always say, and as we just reviewed this thing, it rewards... This is the best thing ever. This is the worst thing ever.
Yep.
And I've seen a lot of reviews that are like, this is the best Spider-Man movie ever made. And
I don't
don't know if it is. And I think eventually we'll sort of come
probably
to
the
that
most crowd-pleasing, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and I think we'll eventually come to a consensus.
Yeah. What are your favourites?
Spider-Man.
Yeah, the original Spider-Man?
Another character, Spider-Man.
Is your favourite one?
Yeah, he's my favourite character in this franchise.
Not to be boring, I quite like Homecoming because I like the back at high school thing.
Yes.
Into the Spider-Verse, obviously. Spider-Man 2. But probably Into Spider-Verse still best by far. One more from, maybe not by far, but just my favourite. The 90s kid said, watching Spider-Man No Way Home was the most fun I've had at the movies in a long time. That's probably true also. You know what I mean?
It is a real big event. It is a roller coaster. Yeah. It's
and being in the pandemic for 2 years, you don't experience this kind of stuff.
That's true.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting the film to have as much heart as it did. It's the first MCU Spider-Man film that felt like a fully genuine Spider-Man story. Best movie ever. So yeah, the general consensus is of people writing in that even the people who maybe didn't love it were like, I still really enjoyed it. Or I loved it and it was crazy good. I had a crazy good time. I was like this. I love this. Anything else, Mason, or should we move it on up?
So let's move to our other segment.
Yeah, what's it called?
Other than James and Mesa review movie.
Oh yeah, what is it?
Which is our most famous segment, I think. But our second most famous segment is what we're reading.
Yep.
Then what we're going to read.
Hey, great. Let's do it now, don't you think?
Okay.
Let's get this bloody theme song ready, mate. I'm never bloody ready, am I right?
Yes.
Thanks. I'm doing the theme. Westworld.
Very nice.
Mason, I'm chomping at the bit to know what you're reading. Also, we're going to not spoil Spider-Man from here on out.
We're going to try our best.
Go for it. What are you reading?
After all the rumors of Andrew Garfield being in Spider-Man No Way Home, I thought I should go to Netflix and look up some other Andrew Garfield content. And so I watched.
Which of his Spider-Man movies did you watch?
I didn't watch any of his Spider-Man movies. Instead, I watched a Tick Tick a Boom.
Amazing,
the
right?
The Netflix musical about musicals.
I loved it.
About being in a musical.
Did you love it? I really
liked
watched
it. It was good fun.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield plays a man whose name I've already forgotten, but he's a struggling musical theatre
musician
playwright. But luckily, he writes Rent.
That's so lucky.
You're very lucky. But I really related to his struggle of a guy who can just offhandedly make a musical in his home and just, do all this amazing stuff until the pressure is actually on to write music for his actual musical that he's trying. He's at a party and he's just like, hey, everybody, let's do a beat and let's make a song or whatever. And it's just, it comes to him so naturally. But then when it's like, you've got to write a musical that people will actually come and pay to watch, he's like, the woman got no. That's not right. delete.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Again, he's just a very, very, very charming man.
Yeah,
very good.
I've
work.
been meaning to watch that, but I want to sit down and watch it properly, and I haven't had a free night to do that. Well, I watched the opposite of a heartwarming musical about the guy who made Rent.
Oh no.
You might remember the movie MacGruber from 10 years ago.
Yeah, I do. Hell yeah. There's a trailer for a new series.
There's a new series. It's out right now.
MacGruber.
It's on Stan.
Yeah.
Fucking incredible.
For people who
It's
don't
so
remember,
good.
it started out as a classic SNL sketch where it's the same thing every time.
It's MacGyver.
He's MacGyver, and there's a bomb that's about to go off, but he's weighed down by some severe emotional problems, and his assistants in Kristen Wiig and whoever the other person was in the SNL sketch. Come on, MacGruber, you can do this. But then he's always he's sad about his relationship or whatever, and the bomb explodes. But then there was a movie with Kristen Wiig and Ryan Felipe many years ago, 10 years ago.
I would say 2010, maybe. Yeah,
and where it's just he
fights Val Kilmer.
It's just a ridiculous 80s throwback action thing. It's not hugely MacGyver, but it's just
no, it's more like a Lethal Weapon
just
kind of
Will
knockoff.
Forte just being an insane man. And
Didn't do well
at all.
People
but I think
didn't
it's great.
like it.
I think
it's he's awful. He's an awful, and he's still awful.
Yeah.
And he's got bad ideas, and he's dumb, and people hate him.
But again, this a spoiler for a movie that came 10 years ago. Just there's this. If I remember correctly, there's this running gag that he's always throat ripping people, and you never see it. But at the end, and everybody's like, "No, you can't." And at the end, he can just tear people's throats out with his bare hands.
Well, not to spoil too much of the new one.
There's heaps of
he
that.
just does so much of it. It's just constant. He skins a man and wears his skin. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
And again, he's terrible.
Yeah.
He's a terrible person.
Yeah.
And he's just got bad ideas, and it's just he's not pleasant to be around. And
they should do like a pack of unrewarded, unappreciated that era comedy gems. That and
I think Never Stopping is probably up
and
there.
also Hot Rod.
Yep, The Love Guru.
Yeah,
all the
No, James, no, you've tried to trick me with that one and put that in, but that's not true. Actually,
You Don't Mess with the Zohan.
All the good
classics.
ones. Yeah.
Little Nicky.
Zoolander 2.
The Animal with Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
These are all big ones.
Just Zoolander 2, you get a second copy of Zoolander 2. You get two copies of that.
2 copies of Zoolander 2.
Yeah.
So, just fun. I mean, if you liked the movie, I think it's probably even better than the movie, to be honest. Because it feels like multiple kind of... It's long. It's a show. So,
yeah.
I also... I've been reviewing, people might know this, and just like that, the Sex and the City... The new series. Claire and I, my wife, we do a podcast together called Suggestible. This one is called Suggestible in the City.
Whoa.
It's like recaps like we do for Hawkeye, except we talk about Sex in the
Nice.
City. And it's really fun. And people might not know this, but I know an insane amount about that show.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun talking about it.
I listened to the first episode, and
Thank you.
you're very welcome, which covered the first 2 episodes,
Yep.
and you seem to be pretty on board with the concepts of it.
Yep.
Generally, you're still on board with this show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's Sex in the City. So
Yeah.
it's that again. And for all its faults and, and not.
Is there a new theme, or is it just the Sex and the City theme?
Like the do.
Yeah.
Or do you mean like the running theme?
Both.
There's no theme song, and it's a different running theme. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but all your characters are back, and
All the characters,
except for
I
Samantha,
created.
who's not
not
back
in there for
for various reasons. Anyway, should we go to the next segment?
Let's
of
do
the show?
letters.
Let's do letters.
The classic one was
Letters, oh letters, we love you.
Yeah.
Some letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do want to reach the show, #weekly.
Is that going to become a musical there?
It was.
Have you been hiding your secret Andrew Garfield musical skills? Would everything become a musical if you
I
took the
wish, I bloody
safeties
wish.
off?
You know, I love bloody music. If I could play music, I would. I'd probably do
Nice.
it all day.
Yeah, same.
But I don't know anything about music.
Yeah,
It's from
nice.
Dave, who says #weeklyplanetpod. Dave, first of all, wanted everybody to know that if you do want to reach the show, #weeklyplanetpod on Twitter or weeklyplanetpod@gmail.com. Thank
Thanks,
you
Dave.
so much, Dave, for letting us know. Dave says, #weeklyplanetpod. Hey, gents, long-time listener. Not great at twittering, but here goes. My fiance, Natalie, and I love your Tom Holland voice. I wondered if you'd both wish her a happy birthday in the voice. She's 30. 30? What is that? On Sunday, December 19th.
Oh, just
so
in time.
a little bit late, probably when you're hearing this, but let's go. What do we got?
Where are we going with?
Natalie is turning 30 on Sunday, the 30th.
Okay, so we're doing this in stereo.
Yeah, I guess so.
Hello, Natalie. It's Tom. It's your friend Tom Holland here.
In stereo.
Happy birthday.
I
In
can't.
it.
When I'm 30 in 14 years, maybe we can get a pint together. I hope you're still married, though, just as friends.
In stereo.
In stereo. Wonderful. Thanks for coming, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both of you.
Yeah.
That was awful.
No, I thought it was really good. This is an email from Andy.
Andy.
Speaking of fiancés,
All right.
subject line, should I divorce my wife?
Here we go. All right.
Andy says, I've tried tricking her into listening to the podcast in the car and at home, but she refuses to listen because she hates Australian accents and so doesn't understand half my jokes.
Cool.
When should I divorce her, and do you have a good lawyer you can recommend? Andy from the UK.
Great question.
We don't know that many divorce lawyers in the UK.
I mean, I got a couple in the back pocket just in case. You always want to have a few ready to go on speed dial, but I'd rather not share them
What
publicly.
you might want to do then is maybe take her on a holiday to Australia,
Yep.
and then divorce her then, and then we can supply some lawyers then, I guess.
Maybe she's got other interests. Maybe she'd like to go through Suggestible in the city, or just Suggestible to get here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or a different husband.
Or a different husband.
Different husband.
Give her a different husband. Yeah, absolutely. Interesting.
Andy, we'll workshop some stuff for you.
Yeah,
workshop
absolutely.
some handy divorce stuff for you.
Some handy Andy divorce stuff.
Yeah.
This is from Andrew, who says, #WeeklyPlanetPod. Is there any way Marvel can successfully pull off something weirder than No Way Home without alienating mainstream audiences? I feel like that has to be the peak. Again, we're not going to spoil it here. But yeah, it's kind of difficult because, well, Endgame felt like a peak, didn't it?
Yeah.
But this, I feel, is kind of, I don't think as big because Endgame was like everything happening all the time.
But for some people.
But this is
the
a
biggest
culmination
thing,
of many things.
Yeah.
And I think that, it will be a hard thing to top. And I think Multiverse of Madness is going to take a big swing at that by including as many things as they possibly can.
Yeah.
Japanese Spider-Man robot. Japanese Spider-Man robot.
Do you think they could do it with other characters or franchises? Do you think we could? I guess we could do like. Look, I can't say without spoiling, but I think it's possible.
I think, you know what? I think they have to do, really, realistically.
Yes.
And I think Sony got lucky because they had that swath of like villainous characters and the like to pull from 20 years ago. Can't do that for every franchise.
That's true.
Maybe X-Men, I guess.
Maybe Batman.
Maybe Batman could do it with because we know we're getting the Flashpoint. But I think what they need to do again, like they do with Endgame, is build up all these current characters they're working on and give it another crack in 5 to 8 years or whatever.
True.
Yeah. What's next, Mason?
This is from Sebastian.
Hello, Sebastian.
On the Hawkeye episode 5 review, you guys were wondering whether if Florence Pugh ate the mac and cheese for real or not.
I did see this. What
in
do we
an
got?
interview with BuzzFeed, Bert and Bertie, the directors of Hawkeye, said that she was actually eating the mac and cheese for real. I knew it.
Fuck yeah.
In fact, they were actually concerned about the amount of hot sauce she was eating take after take. And that Florence Pugh actually came up with the idea of using hot sauce that day on set. I wonder if Florence Pugh has a nosmia.
What's a nosmia?
Like, she
the
has
no
sense
smell
of smell.
thing. Yeah, it might be.
Because people, they have a
Do
lot
you
of
have a
hot sauce.
nosmia?
No, I have too much nosmia.
You got an excess of
I have maltonosmia.
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 Great question. She might. I mean, some people just love hot sauce. I mean, if it's just like a sriracha, I can eat so much of that.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not a problem.
Sebastian says, I felt like I needed to let you guys know about this truly important information. Keep up the great work. I love the show, and you guys always make my day a little bit better.
Wow, that is lovely to hear. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Do you have any more email?
I got 2 more emails.
Let's
guys.
email together.
This is from Scott.
Hello, Scott.
How you going, lads? Just wanted to say thanks, as I've been dealing with a rib injury from jiu-jitsu, and I've had a lot of pain in the chest area, and I appreciate you guys making content that is good, that is enough to give me entertainment and a good chuckle. Nothing funny enough to cause any chest pain. Oh, mate. You're really looking out for me in this trying time. All the best and keep up the good work from Scott.
Thank you, Scott. We hope your ribs are
very
feeling.
welcome.
I hope we're not doing too many big chortling laughs that will hurt your ribs
That's
more.
true.
Yeah.
And I got one more. It's a
Okay.
local food squabble. I feel you're excited for this.
I'm ready,
I
Mason.
think we can really dig into this.
Okay.
Because there is almost no evidence in
Oh,
this.
that's my
Okay.
favourite.
Hello, gents. This is from Chris. Since you've been squashing regional food beef recently, I was wanting to get into the action. I've decided to steal a fight from one of my neighbour cities, the classic Philadelphia. Where is the best place to get a Philly cheesesteak? There are 3 main contenders. 2 of them claim to be the ones to originate the idea, and every person you ask will say you have to go to this place, the other place is just tourist traps. So please, once and for all, is the best Philly cheesesteak Gino's, Pat's, or Jim's? That's it. That's all the information we have.
Well, Gino's, Pat's, Jim's.
If you're in
Gino.
Melbourne, you should go to Sparrow's Philly cheesesteaks in Fitzroy.
Do you want to
Very
just
good.
say that one then?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that's the one. That's the best one.
Yeah,
where
everybody
and
should
where
go
it
to-
originated from.
Yeah, it's in the Catfish, which
I
is a
don't
pub in
think I've
Fitzroy.
ever had a chili cheese fish steak. I don't think I've ever had one.
You've never had the fictional thing you've just made up.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Have you?
Yeah.
You've had, obviously
I've
had
never-
one before.
I've had a cheesesteak.
I've seen them before,
Oh,
and I'm
they're
just
so
like,
good.
that doesn't look good.
Yeah.
It looks like it's too much. Looks like
They
it'll
are too much.
Looks like it'll just like flop down over my heart.
Yeah, it's gonna.
Just like
I've got one right now. I haven't eaten one in weeks, but it's still there. Yeah.
they're not too much. You find?
Well, I went there one time and I'm like, extra cheese, please. And they're like, yeah, sure. That's a lot of cheese.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'll tell you what's a lot of cheese.
And then you did.
I did. It was that. It was too much cheese. Yeah.
So it's our one, the one that we said.
I think it is. Yeah. I think
That
it's
way
Sparrows.
nobody wins.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Terrific.
Cop that, Philadelphia.
Now, I've got something to float with you for next week, Mason.
Oh, yes?
It's a tough situation to be
Go
in.
on.
It will be the last show of the year.
Yeah.
And tradition. Oh, we forgot Snake Eyes. We'll have to push it back next week.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I
Next-
just
okay, we can
realised.
do that. Yeah, no, we can do that next week. Next
God,
week.
so, and I've closed the Google Doc, so I can't.
Can't open that up again.
Open
You've
it
got
again.
a time lock Google Doc.
Why did I install that? Anyways, next week will be The Matrix.
Yep.
Snake Eyes, obviously.
Nice.
And it's also normally our yearly wrap-up. It's our
Yeah.
award show.
That's right.
Now, the question is, though,
Yes.
do we dedicate an episode of The Matrix and then we do an extra show for the year in early January?
And then we
and
take
then,
a couple
we
of
take
weeks
a
off.
break. Do we do that?
I think people might appreciate that.
Yeah, I
Instead
think
of
maybe
an
we
extra
do,
show
yeah.
in January. Yeah, let's do that.
We might.
Okay.
That might mean we'll have to take a slightly longer break in January.
Yes.
But I think I don't really want to do Matrix, which I hope to have a lot to say about. Snake Eyes, which I know I have a lot to say
Right,
about.
exactly, that's true.
And then do the awards.
Yeah, 3 big things, 3 huge events.
God, which is the biggest, do you think? They're probably
Snake Eyes.
equally big.
Oh, Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes is probably the biggest, I reckon.
Yeah.
So that's coming up. So we'll probably do it like that unless it changes.
Yep.
Raw Collings, who edits this, is no doubt probably getting that. There's a survey you can do where listeners choose what their favourite and least favourite, and but the awards we do for the year.
Yeah.
But that might go up maybe.
I thought for a second that you were going to say there's a poll where people say their least favorite things, like the least favorite things about this show.
Oh, I'd love
like
to
least
see
favorite
that.
bits.
Please, if you've got any suggestions for that,
Yeah,
hit us up.
this up.
Anyway, so I just thought I'd float that with you now. But
Okay,
then that's
great.
the show, isn't it?
Yes, it is, folks. Thank you so much for listening to this show.
Wow.
Specifically, thank you for listening. Thank you for telling your friends about it. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for leaving a nice review, which I am told you can also do on Spotify now. You can do it on your podcast platform of
Wow,
choice.
yeah, that's
Somebody
cool.
was saying you can do it on Spotify, but I had a look. I couldn't do it on any shows that I listen to, so I don't know. I don't know where the button is.
Hopefully
But
you
if
can.
you can find the button, do a review on
Maybe you need
Spotify.
to do the app, like reinstall, or not. They
I don't
update
wanna
or
update,
whatever.
yeah.
You know when you ever open up your apps and it's like you have 27 new apps that you got to
Yeah,
update. I'm
yeah,
like, I
yeah.
did this yesterday.
Yeah, that's
I don't even
right.
have that many apps.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is a review though, because I'm trying to get through them all. This is from an official Ginger Ninja Trickster who says, this is a fact. If you put 5 stars into one Olympic swimming pool, we'd all die.
Makes sense.
Is that true?
I think so, yeah.
And this is from Al Bagel No Muffin. All Bagel No Muffin. James is Frodo and Mason is Sam. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
It's like if you like your podcast to reflect the journey of Frodo and Sam from Lord of the Rings, then this podcast is for you. Listen as James and Mason carry this podcast up the Mount Doom of weekly publication. Witness as James is driven to madness from the weight of the show, and Mason realizes that he can't carry the podcast for James, but he can carry James and the podcast.
Oh, that's beautiful.
With every week, James expresses his gratitude for being a podcaster while he exhaustingly wonders what the meaning of anything is. Meanwhile, an unfazed Mason confronts... comforts and reassures James and the listeners that everything is all right. Not only does this podcast mirror Sam and Frodo, but real life as well, especially the power of friendship.
Nice.
Isn't that good metaphor?
Have I ever said that I went my entire life not knowing how the Lord of the Rings trilogy ended, and then like the day before I went to see Return of the King, I saw like a post on the internet, maybe like the Something Awful forums, where it was like, oh yeah, and then Gollum bites off Frodo's finger and falls into Mount Doom. And I went, great joke. What a great joke, as if that would actually happen. And it did.
So somebody listening to this probably went their whole life without knowing how it ended as well.
Oh no! And it's Christmas is coming up where everybody watches Lord of the Rings
That's
trilogy.
right, coming up. It's this Saturday. We hope you have a very Merry Christmas. But what else is going on, Mason, about the show and whatever?
Boxing Day. I hope you have a good Boxing Day.
Yeah, but this is where you wrap up the show, etc.
Oh, yeah. Folks, if you want to get into contact with us, if you've got any regional disputes, they don't have to be food. You can email in. You can also email about anything, really. Yeah, you can go to Weekly Planet Pod.
We want some of the information, but not all of the information.
Not all the information, right. If you provided any more information than the names of those places, I wouldn't have been able to say Sparrow's Philly cheesesteaks. There's also a place on Flinders Street called Fat Boy Philly cheesesteaks, but I haven't been able to get there yet. I go past it a lot.
Oh, really?
I haven't been in there. Somebody let me know if it's good. Anyway, you can go to weeklyplanetpod at Gmail, at Facebook, at Twitter, at Bandcamp. You can join the Planet Broadcasting Great Mates Facebook group. You can go to the Weekly Planet Pod subreddit and Discord.
Yeah.
You can follow Raw Collings on Twitter, at Raw Collings, and also at The Weekly Planet. You can follow me on Twitter, at Wikipedia Brown, and on Instagram, Nick Maso, NickMaseau. James is Mr. Sunday Movies everywhere. If you'd like to support the show, you can review the show as people have done so. But you can also go to patreon.com/Mr. Sunday Movies. You can chuck in $1. We'd appreciate that, $1 or any amount, even a bigger amount, a smaller amount.
That's right.
It's all good. It's all gravy, baby, as
it's all graved, babe.
You can also go to bigsandwich.co. You can sign up for $9 dues per month.
Too easy.
Very easy.
Too easy.
Get bonus content, movie commentaries, bonus podcast. We did the Die Hard one, as previously mentioned. I think the Big Sandwich content will keep going even when we're on holiday.
Yes, we are going to continue that. So if you're like, I'm jonesing for some big sandwiches, they will continue there.
Nice.
And I want to try a new thing. Maybe a video thing just for Big Sandwich. I'm thinking about it. Anyway. Don't get excited, everyone.
Okay, nice. Temper your expectations, folks. So we're doing that. And that's cool.
That is cool.
We've got some T-shirts on tpublic.com. You just search for The Weekly Planet. Thank you to The Brute and The Basilisk and Rackham for all our musical themes. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to everybody.
That's right.
We'll see you after.
Wherever you're from, what are you doing? Stay safe.
Yeah.
We hope you don't get the Rona.
That's right.
And
don't risk going to the movies just to watch The Matrix.
Yeah. Watch it on streaming. Which you absolutely can do.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Cool.
Don't spoil it for us.
Well, I think we're seeing it Tuesday, so it won't matter anyway.
Great. That's true.
I don't know. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Grab that gem, you guys. We will see you next week.
And goodbye.
Yes.
We forgot to talk about Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes.
It's a real thing we're going to talk about.
Best movie of the year, probably.
We don't,
definitely. We've seen it many times,
hundreds
of times. I've seen it hundreds of times.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
I mean, if you want. It's up to you.